There's something deeply unnerving about catching a lie in stereo. It was a Tuesday, the kind of day you forget the moment it ends. Emails, deadlines, a late sandwich at my desk while clients argued over fonts. I didn't get home until after 8. The house was quiet in that stale, familiar way it always was after she'd been alone all day. TV humming low. A wine glass in the sink, still wet at the base. She smiled when I walked in. Said she'd had a slow, sleepy evening. Just her, the couch, and an old rom-com she didn't even finish. Her hair was tied up. No makeup. A blanket draped around her shoulders. It was the kind of look she knew made her seem honest. Harmless. "I missed you," she said, standing up to kiss me. Her lips were warm and tasted faintly of red wine. We made small talk. She asked how work was. I told her about a printer jam that turned into a team-wide existential crisis. She laughed, said I needed to get out of that office before it turned me into someone like Bill. She hated Bill. Everyone did. I made dinner, even though I wasn't hungry. Habit, I guess. It wasn't until later, when she was in the shower, that I noticed the blue ring on the smart speaker still pulsing faintly. I hadn't used it in days. She rarely did. At least, not while I was home. Curiosity isn't what made me check the voice history. I wish it was. That would have been innocent, normal, even. No. It was a flicker. A twitch. Something about the way she said she'd just watched a movie. The way she didn't say which movie. The way she never left a wine glass in the sink, wet at the base. She always dried them. Always. I opened the Alexa app. Scrolled to the voice history. My thumb hovered over the most recent command. It was from 6:14 p.m. "Alexa," the command said, "play romantic music." The voice was male. Deep. Confident. Unmistakably not mine. I stared at it, heart stalled. Then hit play. "Alexa, play romantic music." There it was again. That voice. Calm. Casual. Like he lived here. Like he belonged. The timestamp mocked me. 6:14 p.m. I'd still been at work, in a meeting about billing discrepancies. I'd even taken a screenshot of my Outlook calendar, just to make sure. There was no chance I'd come home early and forgotten. No chance it was my voice, distorted by a glitch. I clicked to see the next few commands. Nothing strange at first. "Alexa, volume up." "Alexa, skip." And then, one that made my stomach twist. "Alexa, set a sleep timer for 1 hour." She'd said she fell asleep on the couch alone. She said she got bored. Turned it off before the ending. But someone had told Alexa to play love songs for exactly 60 minutes before the speaker shut itself off like a dutiful chaperone. I sat there in the dark, lit only by the dull glow of the app, listening to a stranger's voice echo inside our home. She got out of the shower a few minutes later, hair wrapped in a towel, wearing the oversized hoodie I bought her last Christmas. She caught me staring at the speaker. "What's up?" she asked, toweling her hair. I looked at her and thought about asking, about holding my phone up like a detective with Exhibit A. But I didn't. Not yet. "Just checking something," I said. "I thought I heard it go off while I was out." She nodded absently. "Yeah, I might have asked it to play something earlier. I barely remember. I was half asleep." She turned away too quickly. Walked to the bedroom, calling out behind her, "You coming to bed?" I stayed up an extra hour. Listening again. "Alexa, play romantic music." Every time, it hit the same way. Like finding footprints in the snow outside your locked front door. He was here. While I was gone. He was in my house. Comfortable enough to talk to the damn speaker like it was his. She said she spent the evening alone. She said she missed me. And maybe that was true. Maybe she missed me even while she let someone else sit on our couch, drink our wine, talk to our speaker. The next morning, she kissed me goodbye like nothing had changed. I watched her walk down the front steps, into the fog. The speaker sat quiet. But I could still hear him. And I wasn't going to let that go. Not until I knew who he was. and why he thought he belonged here. I didn't confront her that morning. I didn't say a word, but something inside me had shifted. It wasn't rage. Not yet. It was colder than that. Precise. Like a needle slipping into skin without warning. She texted me at 11:03 a.m. Hope your morning isn't too brutal. Left some soup in the fridge for lunch. Love you. I stared at the message longer than I should have. It was exactly the kind of thoughtful thing she'd always done. Too thoughtful. Like she knew I might be looking for reasons to doubt her and was getting ahead of it. At 12:40, I opened the fridge. The soup was in a white ceramic container. Her handwriting on the label, miso, no scallions. She knew I hated scallions. I didn't eat it. Instead, I sat at my desk and opened the Alexa app again. This time, I dug deeper. I downloaded the full voice history log, exported it, and opened it in Excel. Rows and rows of voice interactions dating back weeks. Most were mine. A few were hers, high-pitched, sometimes slurred from wine. But over the last month, a new voice had crept in. Male. Always around the same time. Early evenings, never past 9 p.m. Always polite. Alexa, what's the weather? Alexa, dim the lights. Alexa, play something soft. His tone was casual, warm. Too warm. I copied every audio snippet into a new folder and labeled it Unknown Male Voice, 7 p.m. slot. There was one clip from last Thursday that made my stomach turn. Alexa, what's my name? A pause. Then Alexa's reply. I'm talking to Emily. I replayed it 3 times. The man asked Alexa what his name was, and Alexa said Emily, which meant she'd trained his voice, set him up as a recognized user. In our system, you don't do that by accident. It requires time and several repeated interactions. It meant she had sat next to him, instructed him to speak, and confirmed his voice match under her profile. I opened her Amazon account on our shared desktop. I knew the password. She never changed it. Under Recognized Voices, there were 2 profiles listed. Emily, confirmed. Michael, confirmed. Michael. I sat back in my chair and just stared at the name. She didn't know anyone named Michael. Not in her circle. Not at work, unless he was some faceless name in her email threads. But even then, nothing she'd ever mentioned. Not once. The front door opened just after 6. She came in, coat damp from the rain, eyes tired. She dropped her bag by the door, looked up, and smiled. Hey, babe. I studied her face, her movements. She didn't flinch, didn't hesitate. How was your day? She asked, brushing wet hair from her eyes. Quiet, I said. You. She shrugged. Same. We had a meeting that went long. Ended up skipping lunch. That lie was new. A clumsy one. The soup in the fridge said otherwise. I wanted to ask right then. Wanted to say, who's Michael? Why is he talking to our speaker? Why does Alexa think he's you? But I didn't. Not yet. Instead, I played along. We ate together. Watched half a movie. She curled up next to me on the couch like nothing had happened. Her head rested on my shoulder. She fell asleep before the 3rd act. I sat there, listening to her breathing, watching the soft rise and fall of her chest. Her phone lay on the coffee table. Unlocked. A message banner lit the screen briefly, then faded. I reached for it. The chat thread was under M. Just M. No full name. No emoji. The messages were gone. All of them. The thread was completely empty, cleared, recently. I opened her deleted messages folder. Nothing. She knew how to scrub. Too well. The next morning, I called in sick. She left for work in a rush, apologizing for a meeting she couldn't miss. She kissed me on the forehead and was gone by 8:12. By 8:14, I was in the bedroom, pulling her old phone from the top drawer of the nightstand. She kept it for photos, she'd said. Old memories. I never gave it much thought. It was still linked to her cloud backup. I powered it on and waited. It booted slowly, then finally opened. No pin. I scrolled through the photo gallery. Nothing recent. Then I opened the Amazon Alexa app. It hadn't been logged out. Under Devices, Living Room Speaker, Activity Log, I found a clip from exactly 1 week ago. 6:16 p.m. Same voice. Alexa, play something romantic. And then a laughing. 2 voices. Her voice. And his. It wasn't loud, but it was there. A soft, breathless laugh. The kind she used to make when we first met, when everything was still new, still clean. I sat on the edge of the bed, the weight of it all pressing in. This wasn't a fling. This wasn't a mistake. This was something she made room for. Trained into the walls of our house. His voice. Her laugh. My couch. My speaker. My name slowly being erased. Alexa heard everything. And so would I. Whatever game they thought they were playing, it wasn't over. I just hadn't taken my turn yet. 2 days passed before I heard the voice again. I didn't confront her. Not yet. But I didn't sleep much either. My nights were spent lying still, eyes fixed on the ceiling, listening to every shift in the sheets beside me. Every breath, every whisper of movement. When she turned toward me, I'd close my eyes and breathe evenly. When she turned away, I'd open them again. She didn't notice. She was getting good at not noticing. Friday night, I waited until she left for drinks with coworkers. Just Monica and Lee, she said, her earrings already in, perfume clinging to her wrist. She leaned down to kiss me on the cheek. Be good. I nodded, watched her drive away from the upstairs window. Then I walked into the living room, turned on the speaker, and said, calmly, Alexa, whose voice is Michael? There was a beat, a soft processing noise. Michael's voice profile was created on November 12th, 8:02 p.m. Who created it? I asked. Michael's voice profile was confirmed by Emily. I stared at the speaker, at the glowing blue ring. Then I asked something I already knew the answer to. Alexa, where was that voice profile created? On the Echo Dot in the bedroom. That's what crushed me. Not just that he'd been here, but where. She had him in our bed. Enough to train the damn speaker to know his voice from mine. I sat down, numb, listening to the silence in the room. The ambient hum of the fridge in the kitchen. A dog barking 2 houses over. The whir of a car idling at the end of the street. Everything too normal. I scrolled through her cloud account again. Looked at the file names. The recordings. One by one. Most were mundane. Alexa, set a timer. Alexa, what's the weather? But some were personal. Play our playlist. Turn the lights to 30%. Set alarm for 6 a.m. next to me. Next to me. Not me. Him. The house didn't know who I was anymore. Not really. I had 2 choices. Pretend this was all some twisted misunderstanding. Or get closer. Find the edges of what she thought she'd hidden. And cut. So I went further. I dug into our Wi-Fi router logs. IP activity. Device connections. It wasn't hard. I'd set the thing up myself. I was the one who remembered to reset the password every 6 months. Not her. I saw a device name I didn't recognize. Pixel 7, Michael. Connected on 6 separate days over the past month. Once while I was away at a conference. Twice on nights she said she had yoga late. The most recent connection? Monday. The same day I found the voice command. He'd been here. Recently. While I was at work, trying to close a quarterly budget and worrying about whether the leftover pasta in the break room was still safe to eat. He was here, barefoot probably, telling my speaker to dim the lights and play something soft while she laughed and poured him wine from the bottle I bought for our anniversary. I closed the laptop, stared at the wall. The silence around me wasn't peaceful anymore. It felt staged, artificial, like the house was holding its breath. I opened the hallway closet and found the camera. We bought it after that break and scare last fall. A small smart cam with night vision and 2-way audio. She hated it. Said it made the house feel paranoid. Cold. So we unplugged it. But I never uninstalled the app. It had local storage. One of those hidden loop recording memory cards. She didn't know it was still active. I never told her. I plugged it into the computer and waited. It loaded slowly. The interface was clunky. The last few days flickered by, mostly empty. Just us walking past, coming and going. Until Monday. 6:12 p.m., the door unlocks. She walks in. Not alone. A man. Short beard. Denim jacket. Athletic build. Confident in a way that didn't match the space. Like he wasn't being invited in. Like he already belonged. He kissed her before the door even closed behind them. I paused it. My hands were steady. Eyes dry. But something in me was slipping loose. That moment, that image, it didn't just confirm it. It rewrote everything. Every kiss she gave me that week. Every soft laugh. Every bowl of soup in the fridge. All theater. A cover for the fact that she had given someone else access to us. And me? I was the background noise. The man she lived with. The man she lied to. I let the footage play again. Watched him follow her inside. Watched her hand trail across his shoulder. The way she smiled at him. Not with guilt. Not with fear. With ease. With joy. They disappeared down the hall, toward the bedroom. I stopped watching after that. Not because I couldn't stomach it. Because I already knew what happened next. That night, I didn't sleep at all. I sat in the living room with the lights off, just listening to the stillness. Replaying the sound of his voice in my head. Alexa, play romantic music. I whispered it to myself once. Then twice. Then louder. Alexa, play romantic music. Nothing happened. The speaker didn't light up. Maybe she'd changed the settings. Or maybe the house didn't recognize me anymore. She noticed something by Saturday. I didn't say a word, but the shift in me must have crept through, something in the silence, the way I moved around her. She asked if I was okay over breakfast, her fork pushing scrambled eggs around her plate without really eating them. I said I was tired. Tired how? She asked. I shrugged. Just work? She didn't press. But her eyes stayed on me longer than usual. Watching. Calculating. Maybe wondering if I'd found something. Or maybe she just liked the new version of me, the one that didn't touch her anymore, didn't ask where she'd been, didn't kiss her when she came through the door. By Sunday, I tested a theory. I waited until she left for groceries, said she'd be back in an hour. I knew the list by heart. She took her time at the market, always stopped for a latte on the way home. That gave me 40 minutes, give or take. I opened the Alexa settings again. This time, I tried something small. I deleted Michael from the recognized voice list. Just a few taps. Gone. Then I re-recorded my voice. Followed the prompts. Retrained it to me. Asked a few basic questions. Alexa, what's my name? You're Emily. Wrong. I tried again. You're Emily. She'd overwritten it. My voice, trained years ago when we moved in together, had been replaced. Not erased, exactly, just reassigned. To her. To them. I sat still for a long time after that, listening to the refrigerator hum, to the blood in my ears. I didn't feel anger. Not then. Just this dull, aching sense of being evicted from something I didn't know could be stolen. A person. A space. A name. By the time she came home with the groceries, I had composed myself, helped her unpack, made a joke about the bruised apples. She laughed, called me picky. We cooked dinner together. She drank wine. I didn't. Later, she fell asleep on the couch, half a glass still sitting on the coffee table. I watched her sleep for a long time. Then I slipped back into the office and pulled out the camera again. The footage from Friday night had uploaded to the cloud. I watched it in silence. He was back. Same jacket. Same confidence. But this time, he didn't wait for her to invite him in. He used a key. He had a key. They laughed about something. A private joke. Her hand on his lower back. She poured wine, walked to the speaker. And then she said it. Alexa, play our playlist. Our. She said it like a secret, like a vow. Music filled the room. Something soft and acoustic. His hands found her waist. They danced, swaying slowly, inches from the place we'd hung the wedding photo I'd taken down last year. She never noticed it was missing. I watched her face as she leaned into his chest, closed her eyes. Safe. Content. And I realized something I hadn't wanted to admit. She wasn't ashamed. She hadn't made a mistake. She'd made a choice. The speaker lit up again as they disappeared down the hall. Sleep timer set for 1 hour. She always said music helped her drift off. The next morning, I sent myself the footage, burned it to a USB, then to a second one, and hid it inside the toolbox in the garage beneath the rusted socket set. That night, I asked her over dinner, "Do you ever feel watched?" She blinked. Watched? I nodded, sipping my water. Like the house knows too much. She laughed, a little too loud. Is this because of the Alexa thing? I told you, if it freaks you out, we can unplug it. I met her eyes. But you like it, right? She tilted her head, hesitated. Yeah, she said slowly. It's useful. She said useful the same way she used to say you when we fought. Cool. Flat. Undeniable. That night, after she fell asleep, I walked into the kitchen and stared at the speaker. Then I whispered, barely audible, "Alexa, are you listening?" No response. But I knew better. The next day, I created a new Amazon profile. Not hers. Not mine. I set up a second Echo Dot in the garage, out of range from the house system. Then I started asking questions. Alexa, can you read audio history for other users? I can only read activity for the currently active profile. I logged into hers. Tried again. Alexa, play last Monday's audio. Nothing. Not through voice, but through the app. It was all still there. Buried deep. Hidden under tabs most people never touched. And under her Amazon account, synced from her phone, synced from his, were location pings, smart home interactions, even a shared grocery list. I scanned it line by line. Basil, Pinot Noir, his and hers toothbrushes. I copied the entire thing, saved it with a new title, evidence_1. Then I started making my own list. I spent the next week preparing. Everything was still normal on the surface. She cooked dinner on Tuesday. I kissed her goodbye Wednesday morning. Thursday, she sent me a picture of a plant she wanted for the bedroom, captioned, "Too much." I told her it looked great. She smiled when she got home that night, told me she'd ordered it, said we needed more green in our lives. Meanwhile, my plan grew roots in silence. The burner profile I'd set up on Amazon let me pull every interaction tied to the house. Not just Alexa's audio, but thermostats, lights, even the door lock. Michael, because that's who he was now, with a name, a presence, a key, had come over 3 times that week. Twice while I was at work. Once, after she told me she had a girls' night. Every time, the door unlocked with the spare code I'd programmed in during lockdown, when we started using contactless deliveries. I'd forgotten we even left it active. She hadn't. On Friday, I came home early. Told her work let out early. It hadn't. I just wanted to see what her face would do. She was in the kitchen, wine already open, 2 glasses on the counter. Only one filled. She blinked when I walked in. Just for a moment. "Hey," she said quickly. That was fast. "Yeah," I said, setting my bag down. "Slow day." She moved toward the second glass like she'd only just remembered it. "Want a drink?" I shook my head. She poured it out. Later that night, I opened the shared photo account. We'd stopped syncing photos years ago, but the account still existed. One she never checked. I knew because the recovery email was still mine. There were 32 unsynced photos uploaded from her device. None of them included me. 6 were of him. In our kitchen. In my shirt. 11 were of her. Laughing, brushing her hair behind her ear, lying back on our pillows. The rest were things like the bottle of wine she kept hidden at the back of the pantry, the first toothbrush she bought for him, a note in her handwriting. Door code changed to 6248. He won't know. She had changed it, but not the one I used, the one I gave him. 2 days before our anniversary, she brought up Maui again. We'd talked about going when we first moved in, some place to run off to when life got overwhelming. You still want to go? She asked, voice light. Sure, I said. Someday. She smiled. A little too long, like she was waiting for me to say more. I didn't. The next morning, I told her I was flying out for a client meeting. Said it was overnight, maybe 2. She didn't blink. Didn't ask where. That was the tell. The silence. She thought this was her window. I waited until I saw her taillights pull out of the driveway. Then I circled the block and parked a few streets over. Walked back under cover of early morning. At 10:26 a.m., the door unlocked. Not with a key. With a code. Hers. Michael stepped inside. Casual. Relaxed. Like it was just another day at the home he didn't own. I watched him through the peephole camera I'd installed the night before. He paused at the speaker in the living room. Alexa, he said, play our playlist. Nothing happened. He tried again. Still nothing. I'd wiped it that morning. Factory reset. The house didn't know him anymore. He tilted his head, confused. That's when I walked in from the back. He didn't hear me at first. Just stood there, staring at the blank speaker like a kid locked out of a game. When he finally turned, he froze. We were 10 feet apart. You're not supposed to be here, he said, dumbly. Neither are you, I replied. He didn't move. Didn't speak. I stepped forward, slow and even. Tell me, when you say, Alexa, play our playlist, do you think she hears you? Or do you just like the sound of your own voice echoing off my walls? He blinked. Looked toward the door. No point, I said. She changed the code. Didn't tell you. He swallowed. You should leave, he said, voice lower now. You already did that. Every day for a year, you left. This isn't your home. I didn't mean. Yeah, I cut in. You did. He started to speak again, but I raised my hand. Not to hit him. Just to stop the sound. I don't need your apology. I don't want it. I just want you to understand something. I pulled the remote from my pocket. The smart speaker lit up. Blue ring, glowing. I played the clip. The one from 2 weeks ago. The voice logs. His voice, layered with hers. Laughter. Commands. Music. He flinched when he heard it. Not because it was unfamiliar. Because it was evidence. Get out, I said. He left. Fast. I stood in the entryway, listening to the silence again. This time, it didn't hum. It rang. She came home later, grocery bags in hand. Saw the speaker, lit up again. You reset it? She asked. I nodded. It was acting weird. She didn't say anything for a long time. That night, I sent the footage to her work email. No message. No caption. Just the video. Let her open it at her desk. Let her hear herself in stereo. The last line of audio was her voice, whispering. Set a sleep timer for 1 hour. But this time, the house knew who she was. And so did I. She didn't come home that night. Her phone rang twice around 6 p.m., then stopped. The first call I let go to voicemail. The second, I silenced before the first ring ended. She didn't leave a message either time. At 8:17 p.m., I checked the shared Amazon account. The echo in our bedroom lit up, hers, from a different IP address. She'd set it up in a new place. New walls. New bed. Same voice. She asked Alexa to play her playlist again. It didn't work. She hadn't transferred the files yet. Or maybe she had, but the speaker didn't recognize her voice anymore. Or maybe, and I hope this was it, she was sitting alone, staring at the little blue ring, and for the first time, it didn't speak back. I poured a drink, sat in the silence. No music, no voice commands, no her. And for the first time in months, it felt honest. The next morning, I packed 2 boxes. Not everything, just what mattered. The framed photo of my parents from their wedding day, a pair of old headphones, my books, untouched for too long, the vinyl records she used to call dusty, my jacket, the one she hated because it smelled like the garage. It did. That's why I liked it. I left the house key on the kitchen table. Beside it, the USB drive, labeled in Sharpie, Michael's voice. The smart speaker was still on, still waiting for a command. I stared at it for a long time. Then, just before I walked out for good, I whispered, "Alexa, forget Emily." The ring spun. Thought about it. Then the speaker said, with a kind of mechanical finality, "I've removed Emily's voice profile." The light faded. I closed the door. I stayed with my brother for a while. Took the spare room, ignored the questions. Said it was a rough patch. Said I needed space. He didn't push. Just handed me a beer and turned on the game. We watched in silence. The way only two brothers who've both been gutted by someone can watch anything. No commentary. Just mutual understanding. Days blurred. I went back to work. Kept my head down. Laughed when I needed to. Cried once in the car. Quietly. It felt indulgent, but it also felt clean. One night, weeks later, I got an email from her. Just one line. "You changed the locks." I didn't reply. She sent another. "That was my home too." That one I did reply to. "No. It was my silence you lived in." "Not anymore." I blocked her after that. A month passed. Then 2. The house sold faster than I expected. Some young couple with a toddler and a dog. They asked about the smart speaker. I told them it worked fine, but they should probably reset it. They did. I saw the confirmation email. New household created, Harper family. I stared at the name for a long time. Felt something shift in me. Something I hadn't known was still stuck. Later, I moved into an apartment near the edge of town. 3rd floor. Big windows. No smart devices. Just old keys and physical locks. The stereo was analog. Heavy. You had to turn the knob to feel the music. Sometimes, late at night, I'd wonder where Michael went. If she stayed with him. If they ever got Alexa to say their names in the right order again. But mostly, I didn't think of her at all. I thought of the silence. The real kind. Not the quiet that hides things. The kind that lets you hear yourself again. One night, I stood by the window, watching the city glow below, and whispered the words one last time. "Alexa, play romantic music." There was no reply. No voice. Just the sound of my own breath. And that was enough. Thanks for watching. If this story pulled you in, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss the next confession. Until next time, take care and watch who you trust.